Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Yeah, Christine, you can. It's okay. Okay, so I will start the session. Yeah, so welcome everybody. So on behalf of the Gender Amity Committee and SCOPE, I would like to welcome you all. So today's program is to commemorate the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. So this was passed by the United Nations General Assembly in the year 2015 to have this day as the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. So this is the 7th year. So before we start the program, I just want to mention the two committees of Iaea which are organizing this. So this is being organized by the Gender Amity Committee and SCOPE. So the Gender Amity Committee, the mandate of this committee is to promote gender equality within IAEA and to work towards having a working environment that is comfortable and harmonious for everybody, for all the members of the institute. The second body, which is the one of the organizers, is SCOPE, which is Science Communication, Public Outreach and Education. The mandate is to promote awareness and interest in astronomy among students and the general public. So I welcome you all. Now I would like to request our director, Professor Annapurni Subramaniam, to give her opening remarks.
Thank you, Prabha. And it's a very good set of programs put together by the Gender Amity Cell and the SCOPE IAEA group. And today is the International Day for Women and Girls in Science. And this is started in 2015 by UN towards the developmental goals, international developmental goals. This is part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Developmental Goals. So I think I just wanted to tell you that it is not that today only we should be doing women and girls in science. It's everyday activity. But if people keep asking, why do you want to have a day? But then it is important to keep reminding ourselves that it is important to have equality. It is important to have equal access, and it's important to have participation for women in and everything. But today we are talking about science. So we need to keep on telling us because it's not equal. So that equality has to be brought, and repeatedly reminding ourselves is important in that way. So many of the things are getting better, and I think we will look at the statistics down the line. But it is important for people at all levels, from the higher levels as well as to the lower levels, to look at yourself, look at whatever is existing around you, to think and process it and understand whether it is equal or not. So if there's any provision we can make or anything which has been inbuilt and we are not able to see through it because it's permeable, it's that fabric is everywhere. We cannot understand something that we assume that it is equal, but it's actually unequal. We are not able to understand that. So we have to understand that, keep critically thinking and talking about it is very important. And it is improving, I think, in the sense that Anupama is she broke a glass ceiling of, the first president of the Astronomical Society of India. And now I occupy a chair of the director of one of the organization as the head. And we have another Anuradha here. She is also was the head of one of the departments, ATCOM in ISRO. So several such people have to talk about how to go through, and also at various levels, like students, young students, what are their things like. So generations across, we have to think through, and we have to also debate whether things are changing or which are the aspects we have to look into it. So this program is looking into that, and we have, I think, participation from various age ranges and various kind of areas, engineering, science, and education kind of people put together. So I look forward to a very good program, very good discussion. and hope that we take back things and think through and how we can improve the situation. And I hope that we don't have, by 2030, we don't have to have the separate, keep thinking, talking about it to, to create equality. But of course, we have to maintain it. We should not deteriorate. Okay. So that is all I have to say. And I look forward to the great afternoon of discussion. And thank you, committees, for putting it together. Yeah, and thanks for Anuradha for agreeing to be part of it as a very short notice, and we are honored to be have you here. Thank you.
So I think Prabha's internet connection is very poor right now. So I will take over. Thank you very much, Annapurni, for this nice introduction to our meeting. I will now introduce the speaker, our eminent speaker. Professor, or shall I call you Professor Anuradha? I'm not sure.
I'm just Mrs. Anuradha, Srimati Anuradha.
Okay, Srimati Anuradha. Okay, so Srimati Anuradha, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. As I know it, you were in 2003, you had the Space Gold Medal awarded by the Astronautical Society of India. In 2011, the Suman Sharma Award. 2012, the ASI ISRO Merit Award for realization of Indigenous Communication Space. And in 2012, the ISRO Team Award for being team leader for the realization of GSAT-12. So that is a lot of awards. But I noticed when I was looking at your CV that you're a graduate of a Bangalore University, and that makes us all proud, from the University of Visvesvaraya College of Engineering in Bangalore, which we all know. And I just want to mention the positions that you have held. You were the former director of the SATCOM program from ISRO headquarters for the entire national SATCOM activities, from planning to utilization, spectrum and assignments and acquisition, national policy formulation and implementation. So that is a huge amount of responsibility. You're project director for 5 satellites, including, I think, the one that is from Hanley, right? I think, and that is, you just mentioned. Yes, and the program director for realizing communication, navigation, weather satellites, and remote sensing satellites from geosynchronous orbits. So, welcome to our meeting and Iaea. So now, I think we'll start the session. I think. In the beginning, can you tell us something about your initial years of schooling and what motivated you to take up engineering?
Yes, sure. First of all, very good afternoon to all of you, and thanks for letting me be part of this Annapurni. And my special thanks to Prabhakar, who has been interacting with me so nicely. And it's a pleasure for you on this guys too. So, I come from a very low middle class family, basically, and where we were not, though economically we were middle class, but we were very rich with culture, uprightness, and social consciousness, and a curiosity to understand everything. That is how we were brought up. And I would say it was a scientific temperament which was infused in us, in the family. It was in terms of, what is scientific temperament? Basically, in terms of freedom to question anything and everything. And there was an encouragement for us to take independent assessment, independent decisions about our lives and while we were growing up. And, even though my parents are from a background where they follow the religious activities, but they encouraged us, and they also had the same thought that nothing should be taken up blindly. So there was a reasoning for everything what we were doing. We had debates and arguments at home. And, we kept growing, understanding the depths of customs, religion, practices, at the same time appreciating literature, science, politics, and all kinds of diversity. And, that was the scientific temperament at home. And in fact, even in the younger days in the school, we were, having the advantage that my father was in college, he was a professor. He would get us a lot of science magazines. And I am from Kannada medium, as you rightly noted. But I am very much a Karnataka person. And till my 8th standard, I was not into English. So we used to struggle to understand what it is. And my father would read, though he's not a science person, he could not explain further. Probably those things put a lot of curiosity in us. And especially, when there was Neil Armstrong, when he put his foot on moon, it was a time for most of my generation youngsters where the imagination just blew, and where we thought, moon was some story element, and there it was, and the people were there on that, and what next, and all that. So I'm sure those were the days, all these things happening around us, and what happened within the family, which made us have a scientific temperament, and we grew up. Yeah, that's how I got interested in science.
Oh, great. Yeah. So the society at that time, I'm talking about, say, 70s, there was a lot of, dogmas, it was very conservative overall. So did that affect you in any way?
To tell you frankly, this is what I'm trying to reiterate, that a lot of big problems in the society have simple solutions within homes, how we are brought up, first and foremost. That gives an impetus to the growth of youngsters. Man, whether it's a boy or a girl, it does definitely help, So the dogma, etc., it is from the four walls of the home it starts,
Yes.
So I think I was very lucky that we were not pushed to such things anytime.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't feel so much pressure from the society because of your family?
Actually, to tell you frankly, I did not feel, means, we were brought up with so much confidence instilled in us that we didn't care who thinks what. That was the last in the list of things, what we would be thinking about. If I do something, what X will think, what Y will think, never. Or if someone made a remark, and how is it going to affect me? That would be the last thing for us anytime, okay, to worry about.
Okay. And the superstitions, like the dogmas and superstitions that are there?
Superstitions are something which were a laughable matter in our house.
Okay.
So we've never grown up with superstitions anytime. Yes.
Okay. That's great. Let me ask you a question about your time at ISRO. You were in ISRO for 35 years. So what inspired you to take up a career in ISRO? And when did that thought come to you?
It's very interesting. First of all, I chose science. And when I did my engineering, it was my choice again. Though I got admitted to both medical and engineering, like every youngster aspired those days. And my father was, thinking that probably I'll take up medical. But my mind was on engineering, especially my eldest sister, she had gone for medical. He hoped that I will also follow the same thing. But I said, no, I have to go for engineering. And I was very clear. I always like the subjects where there is rational and, where you can solve the problems, direct applications. I think my mind was more inclined to engineering that way. So, I took engineering. And
what about ISRO? What motivated you to do ISRO?
So when we were in final year of engineering, we had many industrial visits, etc., of course. And in one of the industrial visits, we visited ISRO. And ISRO was not in great limelight those days. We had our share of failures which were going on, as you all know, with our rockets and all that. And it was thought not taken up seriously by anyone. Really, those things. And when we visited there, I was thoroughly impressed with the spirit in those sheds. We were there in Pina sheds those days. The spirit which was going on there, and enthusiasm on the faces of it, the pride in them when they're telling us about everything. I made up my mind that is where I'm going to join, first of all. So yeah, that was a great time, and I was a good student. I had at least some 8-10 jobs on hand, and I waited for the ISRO offer, which was the last to come, and I took it up and I joined. I never regretted. In fact, I even withdrew myself from Indian Institute of Science. I joined the School of Automation to do MS. And unfortunately, Bangalore University exams had got delayed, and I could not take the courses immediately and all that. So I thought, no, I'm going to join ISRO. So that was my final decision. I never regretted one day about it.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. So another question that I have is, how easy or difficult was it in the 70s and 80s for a girl to pursue a career in engineering, and that too in ISRO? So, like, can you just tell us about if you faced any difficulties, engineering and in ISRO?
First of all, I did not face any difficulty, but I know in my own class of 60, we were just 8 girls who were there. That used to be the typical number in engineering in a class. And I'm very happy nowadays, not so nearly 50% are girls. So that was there. And some of my close friends who also wanted to join engineering could not pursue because their families felt that that was not appropriate for them. Very unfortunate, and I hope everyone is happy with whatever they did. That's a different issue. And yeah, there was a possibility that a girl wanted but still could not do. And again, I would like to reiterate that I was fortunate that we were not brought up that way. We could take our own calls, what we want to do, etc. So even in the engineering, once we joined, absolutely no issue. The professors were very cooperative and very appreciative of us. And we never felt that we are minority or anything. We had very good friends who were boys. And, we had a study group and we would study on our own. And it was very important. We understood engineering is not just what is there in the syllabus. And we went beyond. We had a very wonderful team, and we would discuss the things and pick up topics and get to know more about it. It was a wonderful time. And when I joined ISRO, then again, we were very less women, and we were a fresh breed when we joined ISRO. And, we were not like the typical elders who are there, women. I think some 3-4 of us joined together. And, we were very modern for those days there. But absolutely, we had no difficulty in ISRO.
No difficulty.
We worked
from the attitude of, say, the senior people or from society in general, because this is something new, because women in engineers in ISRO must have been something new when you joined.
Mostly, actually, it wasn't so, I think already the entries were there. If you see our own Kerala office, Trivandrum office, there were many more women compared to in Karnataka offices. There were states where already a lot of girls were joining. It wasn't a rarity or anything. But of course, we were in minority. And attitude, as you told from others and seniors in the office, if at all anything, it was more positively inclined, in all the way. And they were also kind of apprehensive because ours was an organization which needed 24/7 thinking about office and working beyond officers, going on the holidays, whether we will be able to do that. And I understand that when I joined 1 or 2 groups, in fact, they were hesitant to take the ladies. And I'm very glad that my boss who was there, one Mr. Dharma, he never cared whether it is we have to meet it. And in fact, we were pioneers in showing that we can do anything. We were there all the time, and we were working hard out, and everything people thought we may not do, and we became pioneers that way, I'm sure. And then onwards, nobody had hesitation to take girls into any department. Yeah.
So only in the beginning there was some apprehension, you think?
Some of them had an apprehension. I came to know later on that in the interview, when we were selected, that not everybody was ready to take the girls because it calls for 24/7 work and what will happen? Will they be able to do it, etc. So once it was seen, there was no iota of doubt in anybody's mind. And today ISRO is full of so many ladies.
Okay. Okay. So another question. So you are specialized in communication satellites. Can you tell us something about the challenges that you faced in the initial years?
Yeah, sure. Actually, mostly I did not start as a communication engineer. I joined as a spacecraft test engineer. And I think everything turned out, or if you're positive, you can make everything positive for yourself. So in fact, when I was put in that group, I felt a little down. Oh, I wanted to be on the onboard systems. I wanted to develop onboard systems. But, I was put there, and I think it was a blessing in disguise because I had a great opportunity to be sitting in front of the satellite from its, from foundation to making it complete and then building the satellite and the launching and post-launch operations. I had a better panoramic view than, being into a particular system or something like that. And I also had a great opportunity to develop interfaces and develop instrumentation, protocols, and that was thoroughly enjoyable. And I understood the satellite systems by working with the satellite in front of me. I became a system engineer rather than any specific thing. Later on, when I grew up, we have a matrix system. Of course, on one hand, I was becoming an expert in developing embedded systems and instrumentation and all that. On the other hand, I was grooming myself as a manager and technical manager and managing the projects. So I grew I started with remote sensing satellites. I'm very proud to say that though I ended as a communication system engineer, and I had great feats in the remote sensing too. And the satellites where I worked, IRS 1A to 1D, those were the satellites which were the best commercially available remote sensing satellites those days. And the best of it was technology experiment satellite. Post-Iran and post, Kargil war, we made the satellite with all the bans on our, getting any technology or instruments. And that was a great time. And we made 7 new technologies we put into technology experiment satellite, and that satellite was dancing in the sky and giving fantastic submitter resolutions. And that was something I really take pride. And after that, having worked in many remote sensing satellites, I was also instrumental in the configuration of navigation satellites. I worked in the navigation satellite.
Yes.
What we call NAVIC. Our Prime Minister gave the name NAVIC, which is Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System. So I got myself thoroughly associated with navigation techniques and navigation. And then I moved up further as project director, handling independently communication satellite. So, then onwards, I've been in the communication. I went to the highest level in the communication. So that was a great time because, it was like I was a student all the time. I had to be reading all the time and understanding new systems. And making the first communication satellite, GSAT-12, was also challenging because first time we were making a satellite, small communication satellite, because we already had blueprints for huge ones. We did not have a blueprint for a small satellite. And we start from scratch and do it. And, it was great. I'm an electronics engineer. Then for the first time, there were many mechanical engineering, structural, thermal, and I had to go back to my mechanical engineering textbooks to understand the jargons, what these guys are speaking. That was a technical challenge at that time because it is interdisciplinary. Building a satellite is interdisciplinary. There are mathematicians computing the mission aspects. You had to get into all those things quickly. So that was a wonderful learning time for me. Then I was part of the GSAT-10, which was the heaviest satellite then at that point of time, 2012, when we launched it. And we had a wonderful time launching from a foreign soil and getting to know how to interface with the foreign rockets and, a lot of diplomacy and those things, I think slowly those things, it gave me an understanding of all these aspects. And I moved on to many other communication satellites. Each was unique. We built antenna, which was so unique. Those were dual graded reflectors, which could so heavy, 34 kgs, and which can keep rotating and form very small beams onto the Earth. And our high throughput satellite GSAT-11, and bringing in electric propulsion system in our SARC-SAT. We named it as SARC-SAT later, GSAT-9. That was a wonderful experience, understanding the new features. Everything is a challenge and exciting, when you don't know. And it's not totally repetitive. So it's been a wonderful thing. And pinnacle of challenge was when I moved on to headquarters, and entirely different ball game. And, it was all about interacting with the users on one hand and the cabinet members on the other side, the policies and international forums where we have to strive for our right on the spectrum, and how to, bargain with them and make our own policymakers understand what we are trying to do. I think that was the best part of my life, where I got a total picture of what we had been working all the time. Yeah, on the whole, I think it has been a great journey for me throughout.
Which part did you enjoy the most? As you described your career from ground level all the way to the path-breaking diplomacy level, which part did you really enjoy the most?
I think each part has been equally enjoyable, because there is a factor of learning in everything. And the factor of learning goes, it becomes dull and boring, So that is what I have enjoyed, that aspect of it. And make yourself geared up for the new challenges. That always makes me, enjoy the things very much. I like adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you another question. With regards to communication technology, how challenging was it? GSAT Mangalam, which is an interplanetary mission. So, which part was most challenging? You were describing many parts right now.
Maybe I can repeat your question, because it was kind of disturbed. I lost in between. You were talking about Mangalyaan?
Okay. Yeah, what I meant was that in this communication technology, how challenging was it between GSAT and Mangalyaan, which is an interplanetary mission? So, which part was most challenging?
Yeah, see, when we say communication satellite, we are not talking about the communication with the satellite, which is run of the mill. When we say communication satellite, it means how the communication aid is provided for various applications. When we are talking about communication in Mangalyaan, the challenge was talking to the satellite itself, because you have to give an instruction. It takes 20 minutes for it to reach and reply 20 minutes. And building the lot of automation. In fact, I am not part of the first team of Mangalyaan at all. Okay, and we have provided the necessary clearances, spectrum, etc. for the Mangalyaan mission. But the Mangalyaan mission had a very dedicated team. Wonderful ladies were there too in the team, and I was not part of that directly as part of the project team in that. And so talking to the satellite, it is more challenging when it is interplanetary missions, but bringing in the communication applications, it's a gigantic challenge with the communication satellites.
So, is there any particularly satisfying moment in ISRO, in your 35 years at ISRO? Is there any one or two moments where you felt the most satisfied?
Yeah, as I told, the first satellite launch was something. It's always getting getting the first baby, right? So that was a different feeling. That was one kind of excitement. And, the first time when we put in the new technology of electric propulsion system, and it worked so wonderfully, that was another excitement. And what more than so many pleasant memories, what really, always in my mind are the two losses we had. One of our satellites we lost when we were rising into the geosynchronous orbit after the first trial. During the second burn, just poof, it went off and we lost. And that's something, I can never forget in my life. We just had 32 or 36 seconds of data, and how we analyzed it bit by bit to see what possibly has happened, which system got into problem first. And that was something, so it was so immense, I cannot tell you. So that is something I cannot forget. And the stress we had when we lost one of the IRNSS satellite, when the heat shield did not open, and we had a tremendous pressure on us that we had to bring in one more satellite within 10 months of time. Tremendous pressure, time pressure. I mean, such moments you can never forget. How we overcame, how the team spirit was so important that we bring it in. Of course, we had another disaster when Chandrayaan-2, the lander did not, really land. That was another moment. And these are the moments, because most of it is always pleasant and exciting. I think we tend to remember a few of these difficult times, challenging times more.
Yes. Now, obviously, the percentage of women engineers or scientists has gone up in ISRO compared to, say, 20, 30 years ago. So, situation in the 70s and 80s. Are you happy, or do you still believe that ISRO can do more for women?
Actually, when I come to these moments, I think about it. To tell you frankly, ISRO is truly a scientific and technological organization. And where each member's contribution alone matters. So the gender or any other artificially created barriers in society never come into the forefront, because they're really involved in the work. Okay. Nobody bothers about those things. I think the numbers are less because I've been part of the recruitment committees also. The numbers are less, not because girls are not getting selected. It's because the girls who apply are less.
Oh, you think, Acha, okay.
Even when we do the interviews, out of 100, it will be, a smaller percentage of girls who come and attend. So though it is a national level recruitment, so all over India it will be less. And probably other reason why girls are not joining is the lure of IT is there. I don't say the girls are not at all doing STEM. I think in India we are far better compared to others. Maybe the lure of IT industries is much more for them, and many reasons. And ours is a field where those who are really interested in this kind of work, who have a passion to do these things, they can survive and they can come in and do that. It's not that very well, part of Iaea, for us promotion doesn't mean we are getting more money, never. So promotion means it is a kind of self-esteem which increases. Those are not the things the modern girls like it probably. So they may look at immediate returns.
Yeah, so because there is still, I think, quite a gender difference in ISRO. I mean, the number of women.
Here, I think 25 to 30% are women.
30 to 35. Okay.
25 to 30, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. So, in amongst the engineers and the scientists, even there, it is about 30%.
Engineers and scientists are more in number compared to the non-technical staff in ISRO. So I'm referring to that number only, 25 to 30%. Women. And whoever are doing, they're doing exceedingly good, just as good as any male. And nobody has a second thought, should I recruit a girl and all that? No, they're not there. If they are ready, they're joining, we will take them. There is no issue at all about that. And many people have asked me also about, probably you're going to ask me next, why there has been no chairman who is a woman and all that. So it's very, we feel like very strange because I'm telling you, we were some of the senior most women who joined. Okay, there were already men who were working there, and as I told you, ISRO is a place where your work, your contribution, your seniority matters. It's not whether you're a man or a woman. So already there have been people who are senior to you and they're there. You can just bypass and go and sit in a seat, right? So it doesn't happen. But I assure you, in the next coming 5 years, 6 years, it's going to happen. There are a lot of young ladies who are doing exceedingly well and they're coming. I'm sure they'll be taking those positions.
Okay. So there is no special kind of move or effort to have more women representation in this role? Or you're not aware of it, maybe? I don't know.
Whatever are the government stipulations we are doing, it has to be there. Okay, as far as the government rules are concerned, it is, we have to meet those criteria. Apart from that, we are open. We don't mind if women are 90%, men are 10%. We don't mind any fractions. We want good people who can join and contribute.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I thought now, we could have some questions from the public.
Very nice.
So if anyone has questions, can you either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask your question? Any questions?
Interesting online sessions. You're not sure whether anybody is really in front of the computer.
No. So Annapurni, I would like to ask a question. Yeah, please go ahead.
Very, very nice talk, and enjoyed the conversation, actually. So I just wanted to ask you that you said, right, the less people apply and kind of a thing. So what do you think we can do something to increase that? Are people trying to, is it, I mean, you said one of the possibility may be that the IT is one factor, but then do you think that there is a fear or anything that women think that you won't be able to pull through this kind of a career? On the other hand, IT is a possible career pathway. Is there any fear which we could take care, or what? How do you think that can be saved?
No, when I said the IT lure is there, it's not that they feel joining ISRO is difficult. I don't think so. I'm sure all girls are capable of doing, and they will do too. What I meant was, it is true for both boys and girls. The lure for IT is much more nowadays because of the immediate returns and tangible returns what they get at earliest. Trying to get a beautiful car or a beautiful house may be more important for them. So the thing is, of course, STEM as it is, women are less in number. There is no doubt. And it may be due to several reasons, their backgrounds, for which a lot of programs are going on. From ISRO also, a lot of programs are going on. In fact, every year we ensure that these women, they go to their native places and then talk to the local schools and then motivate them to take STEM and things like that, which is always there, of course. And I don't think it is a complexity as a challenge that will put girls behind. No. And they also know that if they join ISRO, at least there is no bond or anything. If they want to leave, they can always leave. That's not the issue. So I think it is, first of all, girls joining. And then in that, how many will join into hardcore subjects like pure science or, electronics, mechanical, where pure code that is when in fact I had a experience. I went to recruitment in one of the very famous IITs to recruit the students, and I was there to select the electronic students. I was so disappointed. Each one of them, they are not interested in the basic electronics. Everybody is into some competitions and computer science subjects And that is a trend now. And I think that is the reason why we are not getting many girls, but there may be reasons specific to other places too. I'm not too sure.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So does that mean that your number of applications also is less?
Yes, number of applications will be less, and from premier institutes especially. I'm sure everybody is trying to go abroad is another thing. And the other thing is IT companies. And we also have national level recruitment where we take from any of the regional colleges and all, we encourage them to apply. And in fact, most of the people who have done very well in ISRO are not from the premier institutes. They're all from normal colleges who have come, in fact. And we do take them, and we have our own college nowadays. Indian Institute of Space Technology is also there. Part of them come from there. But number of girls who apply are less in number compared to boys who apply. Definitely it is there. And selection process, I can assure you, there is no bias, girl or a boy, and that is always ensured. And based on their performance only, they are selected. So when there are no such barriers, still girls do not come in. And after having joined, we give a lot of counseling to them. And I have done myself to many young girls when they have some career issues and conflicts. And we have helped them out how to bring in the solution and continue with their career. And they have successfully done so. So we are trying our best to do all those things so that, girls don't drop out, because especially having joined ISRO, they are good. We don't want to lose them. Okay, so keep doing that.
Okay. So any more questions? I'm trying to see if there are any hands raised. If you want to ask a question, you can just unmute yourself. So maybe I can just, while we're waiting for people, do you think that the problem lies before, like in the colleges itself? Do you think the number of women is less in the engineering colleges? Because ISRO mostly takes engineers. Have you noticed anything?
We take pure science, we take mathematics background, we take engineers, and we take from all walks of STEM. And it is less who apply are less. And engineering colleges, I don't believe, because my two girls did engineering, and I know in their class almost 50% were girls. And I'm sure that is a trend in all the engineering colleges today. So what happens to those girls after the engineering is something. And then this was my thought process. Why am I thinking why they're not joining ISRO? They are not interested in joining the hardcore subjects. They may want to do something else. And nowadays there is a lot of trend to be entrepreneurs too. Many of the girls are doing those things also. There's nothing wrong. So various things they might be doing. And I don't want to have such statistics like what exactly happened to the girls after the engineering. And I'm sure they'll be doing something else. They won't waste their education just like that. They must be there doing something.
So if there are no more questions, then I think we will close this part of the meeting, and then we'll move on to the next item, which is Professor Preeti Kharp. Thank you so much, Anuradha Srimati, for your presence. Thank you so much. It was really inspiring to have you with us. Please stay till the rest of the meeting if you can. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Preeti, can we start now with your part of the session?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to? I can go ahead and introduce. I think nobody needs an introduction, actually. So let me just start by doing this myself.
Yeah, you could introduce yourself also, actually.
So are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can. Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So first, I wanted to thank Iaea Gender Amity Committee and Scope for inviting me today. I was going to talk about the statistics that we've been gathering as part of the Working Group for Gender Equity. And I thought I'll take this opportunity to also introduce WGG to people who are not familiar, and reintroduce it to others. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with the working group. So I've titled my talk towards creating gender equity in the Indian astrophysics community.
Preeti, before you start, because we have a fairly general audience, can you just introduce yourself?
Sure. Yes, I forgot completely. Yes. So I am a faculty member at the National Center for Radio Astrophysics, TIFR, in Pune. And I am also currently the chair of the Working Group for Gender Equity. My area of specialization is active galactic nuclei. I do a lot of observational astrophysics and work a lot with astronomers at Iaea as well. I think maybe I think that should be enough to get going. And I'll be very happy to take any questions at the end. Hopefully we have time for question answers at the end so we can chat during that time. So the WGG itself was formally constituted in 2015, and it was under the Astronomical Society of India. It was reconstituted in January 2019 with the following members. I'm currently the chair of the working group. The working group includes Harvinder Jassal, Ravinder Banyal from IIA, Ritaban Chatterjee, Prajwal Shastri, Nisim Kanekar, Kuntal Mishra, and Debarati Chatterjee. The WG is going to be reconstituted in next month, actually, at the ASI meeting with 5 new members. And Kuntal Mishra is going to take over as the chairperson of WGJE. The former members include Neeraj Mohan, who is at IIA, and the other members are listed here. So what are the guiding principles for WGGE? I think we have been guided by principles put forth by the Pasadena recommendations for gender equity in astronomy, which include these points. Gender equity would have been reached when the fraction of women in the next level of advancement equals the fraction in the pool. And gender-related data must be gathered, monitored, and used to identify problems. And gender sensitization talks and meetings must be organized. These Pasadena recommendations have been endorsed by the American Astronomical Society, and they have been leading these efforts in astrophysics, at least. Over the last more than 30 years, they have been gathering data as well, and we have been taking inspiration from their work. So let me start by showing the statistics that we have gathered. And we began this gathering of data in 2013 when I was a faculty member at IAEA. This is a boring looking table. We have made slightly better plots, which I'll show you in the end. But basically, this table lists the number of faculty members, total number of faculty members, number of women, and the fraction. Then the middle column is for the numbers of students, total number of students, number of women students, and the fraction. And finally, the last broad column is the number of postdocs. So the number of postdocs, I should already warn you that we are definitely plagued by small number statistics. And when I initially started this gathering of data, we had naturally not included, and I think maybe we didn't have also that many postdocs around. These numbers are actually steadily improving, but still, these are very, very small numbers. So the leftmost column is the year 2013 to 2021. So you can see these numbers here. I put NCRA is currently, even though it is a very small number, numbers we're talking about, we have 4 out of 18 are women, is on the top, followed by IAA, which in terms of numbers is, of course, the largest number of women astronomers in Indian research institutes. Then we have ARIES, IISc, and I will tell you where these data are actually publicly available, so you have access to these data on our webpage, followed by RRI, TIFR, Astronomy, IOCA, PRL. So in a nutshell, for 2021, these are the numbers. The women faculty in astrophysics institutes in these 8 institutes that I've just shown you is around 15%, whereas the number of PhD students is around 30%. So it's half the number of PhD students. The number of women postdocs currently is 40%, but like I mentioned, these numbers are plagued by, these ratios are plagued by small number statistics. And at the bottom, of course, there is a fantastic Wordle which Neeraj Mohan created today and tweeted about. So I've shared this here. This is actually the total number of faculty members. Men in gray and green are women. So it's a very small number, and this visualization helps. So what you can see from here, based on the guiding principles that I mentioned to you earlier, the fraction in the pool is twice as large as the fraction at the faculty level. So that is, I think, what I wanted to mention here. Of course, once we have a larger, better numbers for postdoc or better statistics for postdocs, we could actually compare the postdoc numbers to faculty members. But we're not there yet. This is the same table now broken up over years and an average fraction over all institutes plotted together, the 8 institutes. And so what you will notice is actually there has not really been that much significant changes since we started monitoring data. Overall, the women faculty numbers or ratios have stayed between 12 to 15%. Maybe the last 2 years or 3 years, it's been 50% as opposed to 12% the 3 years before. So I don't think that's a significant change. And in terms of the student fractions, these have also stayed between 25 to 33%. There may be some increase over the last, not really actually, 2021 seems to have a small number. So they're fluctuating around these numbers, but I think what is clear is that the fraction of students is twice as large as the fraction of faculty members. So these numbers, which I just showed you, we have actually put them on our webpage, which is given here, the link of which is given here. This is the way our webpage looks like. So all these numbers can be got from there. And other numbers we've been gathering, which I also wanted to flash, are numbers that we got in 2017. We've been trying to update these for like more recently, but we haven't been successful. I think because of COVID, there is a little bit of a lag. So these are numbers that we actually got from Iaea and through the university associates. And so I'm just going to flash these numbers. I don't think we can note individually the departments, but here are the faculty and student numbers in different universities and ICERs. I've given the source as well. And I just go through these. I'm happy to share this presentation with you all, but also these numbers are on the webpage. So I'll just summarize in the end what I found for these numbers for universities. So what we found was that even the universities doing astrophysics research, they seem to be, even though they seem to be doing a better job of hiring women faculty members. So the average number was around 20%, which was a little higher than what it was in research institutes, which was more like 10%. But in both the cases, the fraction of women PhD students was almost double of the faculty fractions. So even in the university, this problem seems to persist. I wanted to also flash this page, which is the detailed report, which came out from the Indian Academy of Sciences and the National Institute of Advanced Studies, NIAS. This study was headed by Anita Kurup. And this is, of course, a much, much more detailed report if you are interested in getting the fractions of women in sciences. Overall, here also, it was noted that the fraction of women PhDs in all sciences is around between 35 to 40%. So we are not, what's clear is that these numbers don't go all the way as you move up in the level of advancement. Okay, so now I want to just spend a few minutes to tell everyone about the activities we have been doing as a working group. So we have been organizing these 1 to 2 hour sessions at all the annual Astronomical Society of India meetings. And I'm sure a lot of the members in the audience have been participants in this. We have invited several speakers with broad range of interests, but mostly astrophysicists in these kind of meetings. Not actually, okay, I should change that. We have invited others, other specialists as well. So what I wanted to highlight was that, so Shobhana Narasimhan had given a talk recently in one of these ASI meetings. And the next ASI WGG session, Anita Kurup, who I just mentioned in the previous slide, is going to speak about the latest statistics that they have been gathering from universities about the women in physics. So please attend this talk. This is on the 28th of March, 2020. I've listed 2 achievements for the working group. We are really proud to tell everyone that ASI now provides subsidized childcare at the ASI meetings. And also ASI has started conducting a gender audit of the ASI meetings, including speakers, contributed speakers, invited speakers, etc. So they actually themselves do this and flash this in the ASI meetings, which is a very, very positive step. We have also been organizing these gender sensitization lectures named after Anna Mani, which has included a lot of eminent people, including science historians, philosophers of science, journalists, social scientists, as well as scientists. And I've given here the names of the people we've invited so far. Jocelyn Bell Bernal was our last lecturer. And on the right, you see a poster of the talk. And I hope you don't miss the Pulsar reference here, which some people seem to have missed. And these lectures are live streamed, and I've given the link here, but you can find this information on our webpage. To also continue this gender sensitization, we've been carrying out gender equity surveys, and we have done 2 so far. One of them, so I flashed on the left, you see a sample survey that we had circulated at the ASI 2016 meeting, and we did another one, which was an electronic questionnaire in ASI 2020. And the results of this will be discussed in more detail also in the WGG session, which is coming up on the 28th of March. So, of course, the survey is also, apart from surveying the interest and the awareness of the participants on these issues, it is also, it's an exercise in gender sensitization in itself. So I told you about the numbers, the tables, the boring tables that we had for the numbers. So they have been put in this very colorful poster, which was made by Pradful Shastri and Aruberi mostly, where in the center you can actually see all the numbers that I showed you in numbers, the numbers I showed you in the tables as figures here. This was for our contribution to the 7th IUPAP International Conference on Women in Physics. So I will leave here by leaving this information about how you could contact us. This is our webpage. We also have a Facebook page. We are active on Twitter, and we also have an email ID. So this email ID is basically if you want to reach out for suggestions for carrying out activities that similar to what we've been doing, or even new activities, or if you have ideas on how to improve the situation, you are very welcome to write to us. So I'll stop here, and I'm happy to discuss.
Thank you very much, Preeti. Thank you for this wonderful talk. Thanks. Shall I take some questions now? If you want to, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand.
Moushami, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Prabha.
Yeah, Preeti, thanks for all this data. So you talked about the leakage of the numbers from student level to faculty level. So can you maybe list some causes and solutions I'm sure you and others would have discussed a lot about these things. So if you have
Yes.
some.
Yeah, so I think I want to start by saying that this is a complex issue and a multifaceted issue. But one thing we found, and not just us, it is found worldwide, is that in the physics communities, a lot of implicit bias exists, which unconscious bias or implicit bias, where it is believed that women cannot perform well in the STEM fields, and so that does play a major role in finally. So even though the women PhD students are performing reasonably well, they do make it to these research institutes as PhD students. They actually even get postdocs, but then finally they are not able to come through this. So it's something else apart from actual ability, because they are able to do research. So implicit bias is one very important reason why this could be happening. And I think physics in general is a very there is a little bit of this aggressive kind of way of doing science of also, so that also sometimes makes a lot of women and also maybe some fraction of men uncomfortable in speaking up or fighting for what they want done. Or so it kind of creates what is known as a chilly climate, and this is something which is documented actually very well throughout the world, this chilly climate of physics institutes. So I think that is also playing a role in why we have such a small number of faculty members.
Okay, so you've given the data for the Indian scene. So, like for example, in the last 10 years, has there been improvement in this in the international scene?
Yes. So yeah, that's a good question. So I think in the American Astronomical Society, there has been definitely a change, but the change happens. I think the change is noticeable on a 20-year baseline actually. But even then, I think the fraction what I saw from the CSW, the AA's page, seems to be around 25% in the US, as opposed to 10 to 15% in India. So it's better than us. US is better than us. The other European countries, I don't have right now the numbers for those.
Okay, thank you.
Anupama?
Yeah, hi, pretty nice presentation. The academy report that you showed, that was for the year 2010.
Yes.
And I mean, I think I'm not wrong.
There's a more recent one.
Remains the same.
No, I think there is a more recent one as well.
There is a more recent one, and the fraction remains the same.
I think that's a good question. I think the fraction, as far as I remember, was not different.
Yeah, so, that's what I kind of recall. Having read that it remains more or less the same, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I did hear Anita Kurup had also spoken at in a meeting last year or 2 years ago, where the numbers were very similar to what I was just showing.
Yeah.
So anyone else with a question? You can unmute yourself.
Maushmi, I have one.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Hi, Preeti.
Hi, Naina.
Hi. So you mentioned about the chilly climate as one of the possible reason for women candidates not making it up to the faculty position. So is there any other issues as well, or is there any attempt which has done so far to identify at least a few of these talents which are going out of the pool after maybe PhD or postdocs, and understand or get in touch with them to know why it did not happen, or did they left science, the career itself, or did they move out of academia, etc.? Any attempts in that line have ever been attempted?
Right. So I think this was attempted, but I think it was not. It was done in one of the ASI meetings, we did have this discussion on finding out why people left. But this was not an easy exercise to do. And it was also difficult to, trace people and also get any responses from them. But like the question you asked about the chilly climate being the only, of course, it's not at all. It's not the only thing. So there are several other things which come into play. So for example, if institutes are not, if you don't have maybe childcare facilities in your institutes, I mean, those kind of things also adversely will affect women scientists. There are many reasons. But finally, what we've seen with WGG, the lectures and everything, we've seen that finally it will come down to the practitioners of physics to also look inwards to see why we are not able to retain the women. So I think that is kind of at the crux of it. But there are other factors as well, of course.
Yeah, so I have also one suggestion, because so the changing the chilly climate is a gradual process, and also we may not be able to make a one-to-one control in one go or something like that. But for example, something related to child care or sensitizing, like this is a phase which most of the women may have in their career, especially during the postdoc or just after the postdoc. That is the time.
Yes.
So these kind of implementation in every institute, and I was glad to see that ASI had a childcare, subsidized childcare unit, because I have a kid. So
yes.
So is there any formal body or something to make sure that every institute have this facility in a reasonable time scale, of course? So if something of that sort is in plan or in papers or something?
At least I'm not aware of any formal body which would take care of this. I think we are pushing for these changes, and I mean, a lot of us, it's not just the WGG, many people in physics are pushing for getting this, but I think there is no formal body which will, which can help us with this.
Okay. Thanks, Preeti.
Neeraj, can you ask your question?
Yeah, thanks, Moshmi. Thanks, Preeti, for a lovely talk, as always. So I think what I want to ask is a bit similar to what Naina had mentioned, which is that we need institutional support as well, right? For example, daycare on the campus, like you said, flexible hours if needed, and something people have been bringing up quite often is career breaks, right? How do you come back from a career break, and how are you evaluated on par with others who haven't had a career break, and so on? A lot of these, of course, are up to the institute to kind of support. But I was wondering, but then it also is good to get these policies changed at the Delhi level, right? At the funding agency level.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on how, as a community, we can influence the government funding agencies to change their overall policies to help in these matters?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's an excellent question. I think I'm sure you know about the meeting that we had, the Pressing for Progress meeting, which Prajwal Shastri and others had organized. And I remember that the first announcement, or at least there was a first formal announcement of the Gati scheme after after this meeting ended by the DST official. So I think we are making a difference. As WGG, we are a very small group of us. We can't really, but maybe with some collaboration with other people, we can keep pushing. But I don't know. I'm probably not the right person also to say much more than that.
Okay. And Annapurni, can you ask your question?
Yeah, actually, it is not a question. I wanted to make a comment. So there are a number of schemes by the government for continuing as in the research, like the VOSA scheme. Several things are there, and the SUB fellowship for women, etc. Support is provided. But I think what I have noticed in the last few years is the following. that when the childcare and all that, the career breaks is like, when you have joined, these are the things for support. The VOSA kind of a thing is support when you don't have a position. But the question is, you have a PhD or you have a trained person there. How do you make sure that that person comes into the mainstream? So that is the question being asked. So when you get a certain set of applications in an organization, one would rank in terms of, not in terms of gender, but in terms of whatever the achievements people have done, etc. So achievements in terms of various things. So slowly the progress is being made for in conferences, in talks, when normally women do not even get a chance to present their results. It is slightly changing now because we have enough women speakers and they are able to showcase the results and capability is demonstrated and listened to. So the people know that such a person is there with an expertise you can look forward to. But one should also keep in mind that, either it is a male or a female, the age at which one settles, looks for a job is when they settle in their life as well. So societally, the women tend to take on more responsibilities and more load on in the family when compared to a male. So what happens is the result is that the reduction in publication, reduction in the time one can spend on the career path when compared to a male at that time. So if you do not have enough support at that time, your productivity definitely will be less, because you have only a fixed number of time. You can't have 48 hours per day. Everybody has 24 hours per day. And the kind of time share once ends up in the family and other thing is more for women. So if there is a balance in activities that the responsibility is taken by the other half, then one is able to contribute more. So in my experience, I have seen many people where due to family reasons, you're not able to get more time to your work, or, restrictions with respect to going for a postdoc, or, in staying in some lab, or, getting good contacts or good networking, etc. This does play a role. And so one has to make sure that that is not affecting your career. But at the same time, the society also has to support, without which it is not possible. Because at the end of the day, once application comes, then you look at, you don't, otherwise you have to have saying that women candidates can have a few years of, how do you account for that, right? It is difficult to quantify a time spent. I mean, various aspects are there in life that definitely it matters, but you have to, that is a challenge one has to address. So in general, I think like Anuradha was mentioning, once you have applicants, you're not looking at the gender, you're looking at the quality of the application, right? So if there is a difficulty in it, there's an inherent difficulty where you cannot equate left to right. The question is, how do you make sure that this factored in? It has to be factored in, because only females can give birth and bring up the child. Definitely, you have to give some time to it. So I try to argue by saying that at least 30 or 40% extra has to be factored in. Like you have 24 hours for a person, and one can take 2/3 of the time for research. Women cannot do that. At least for a certain period of time, you cannot do that.
Yep.
So how do you factor in that?
Yep.
So at each level, that has to be factored in. This is not, as you rightly said, it's a complex problem. It's not easy to solve, but awareness and a way to factor it in should be there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I completely agree with you, Anupuni. And I just wanted to point a very kind of interesting result that these numbers are usually bad for physics and not as bad, for example, in other sciences like biology, even though actually biology is not as good as people have claimed. In India, that fraction is around 26% faculty, women faculty, not 50%. But even then, it's a number which is much better than physics and astrophysics. So then, because these problems that you did mention, they do affect also the biologists. But somehow what I was trying to say was that there is something additional which then comes into play when you talk about physics and math, which is also then hampering the progress of women. So I think I agree with you, and I just wanted to add this extra point.
So I think we'll take the last question from Anupama. Anupama, can you ask?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I fully agree with what Annapurni said. I think it's what is important to overcome that some amount of sensitization amongst the faculty at all levels, because it is these people who will finally be sitting on selection committees, in the future. If you're looking at the young faculty or even the senior people who are going to be sitting on committees for evaluation, they need to be sensitized. And this is very important, because even if there is one person with a negative attitude, the entire process can become highly toxic. So I think, that is what is extremely important, sensitization.
Yeah, sure.
A quick comment from Ravinder.
Well, not a comment, but just a question.
Sorry,
So,
question.
yeah, so what Annapurni and Anupama has said, and if that is true, and doing science or to be in science, I think we also need to relook at the notion of merit, right? The way it is defined, because if you want to bring parity, then this problematic traditional way of defining merit is a problem, and probably act a filter at many points, at many stages in the career development of girls and women. So, I
think that's extremely important. I agree with you, Ravi.
Okay, I think we'll stop now, Diti. Thank you for the presentation as usual.
Thank you, Mashmi.
And thank you to the audience. Now we are going to have an not exactly interactive session, but we're going to hear the side of women in Iaea. So this is basically voices of young women or young minds of Iaea. So in this session, we're going to have 5 young women who are working at Iaea at different stages of their career. And I will just quickly mention their names and what program, and they will speak for about maybe 5 minutes each. So the first student, she is a junior research fellow in PhD second year. Sipra, are you there? Sipra Hota? Under Pondicherry University. Yes. Sipra, would you like to speak?
Yes. Good afternoon to all. I am Sipra Hota, Junior Research Fellow at Indian Institute of Astrophysics, working under the guidance of a very successful woman in science, Professor Annapurni Subramaniam. The International Day of Girls and Women in Science is a very prominent day for various enhancement factors of women and girls. I am very much thankful to all for allowing me to convey my motivation and experience in this field. I want to tell you a very short story where a woman who is not from the science field motivated a girl to pursue the science. If we want a fire to burn for a long time, we have to give fuel continuously. And my mother is my unlimited source of fuel in my life. She triggered the interest in science in my mind when I was just in standard 2. She told me the life story of Madame Curie, her struggle, how she managed everything, her inventions, and finally, she gave her life for the sake of human race. But this path was not easier. It was like a hurdle race. After 10th, we had to decide the discipline for study. Although I am a good student, but everyone told me to join arts and pursue the educational line. But I have interest in science. My mother told me do the science. But at that time, since I was from the state board, and my thought was like that I cannot understand the science as it is in English. One line my mother told me, science is written in English. English is not the science. It touched my heart. Thanks to my mother and teacher, I could. But another turning point came after my BSc. I got a job in postal by chance. Again, our beloved society came forward to give me a lot of suggestions. Not to do higher study, do the job, get married, and settle the life. But once again, my hero, my ma, is with me. See, although we are not financially sound at that time, but she told me we can manage. Graduation is just a basic education. If my son did the MSc, why not my daughter? You have to do MSc if you are interested. Leave the job, and I did it. And my thought, like seeing my friends, is changing, but she is consistent with that. During MSc, I always told like I can do research. I will not join like that. She asked me why. I told research takes time. She told me you have your whole life. Give to the research. If, then I just asked. Although she is not a higher educated person, but she knows the value of education for girls. The motto to tell this story is that whenever a girl want to do something, always society come forward to become a hurdle. But at that time, if our parents with us, then we can do anything. Many breakdowns may come. If they are with us, we can get the success. Lastly, I want to restate the line of N equals. Science is not a boys' game. It is not a girls' game. It is everyone's game. It is about where we are and where we are going. That's it. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Chipta. Thank you. I'll take questions at the end. So our next speaker is Maya Prabhakar, who is a DST fellow at Iaea. Maya, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Can you unmute and speak?
Yes, sure. So, hello everyone. I am Maya Prabhakar, a PhD student working under the supervision of Professor KP Raju in Iaea. I would like to talk about my motivation for science and journey so far. Thanks to the Gender MIT Committee and Scope for giving me this opportunity. My early exposure to science was through my father, who taught me physics and mathematics. The growing up environment at home was free for discussions on various science topics I studied in school and the books from his collection. The exposure to astrophysics was through academics only. I remember studying stellar evolution in high school and in BSc just as a chapter, but we didn't have anything more about it in particular. But it was made interesting through the books I had at home. I was also exposed to Iaea's 100 Newtonian telescope through him. This kind of growing up has made me inclined towards pursuing a career in physics or mathematics. And luckily, I also found nice teachers all through my way. I did my master's in Kuvempu University with condensed matter physics as my majors, as that was the only available choice then. After that, I got selected for a 6 months internship at Iaea to work with Professor Raju, where I got to work on solar coronal line profile analysis from eclipse observations. I used to feel very underconfident because of my background being different from astrophysics. But it worked out really well because of my supervisor's guidance and the environment Iaea offers for students. I like that the faculties here are very friendly. And I also got an extension for another 3 months to complete my internship. And it was during that time I decided I'll take up astrophysics as my career. However, I did have a break for 2.5 years after this internship. And after that, I got DST's Women Scientist Fellowship for my PhD. And I continued to work with Professor Raju after that. Since then, my PhD journey has seen its own ups and downs. There have been times when I struggled to understand or get the required output, but I believe it is the system which encourages to work efficiently. I'm also learning that that is the way research works. IA's work culture is encouraging in this regard, where we can talk to anyone when we want to learn or discuss something. So I would say that the journey so far is balanced. And I do not regret taking up a career in science. Neither have I felt any bias in this regard so far. It has been an encouraging and supportive journey. It has not only helped me to keep up with my ambition, but has given me ample opportunities to build up my academic skills and personality. And lastly, I think fellowships specifically for women like WASA would encourage more women to pursue science. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maya. Thank you. The next Amrita is also at Pondicherry University.
Hello everyone, I'm Amrita, JRF in Iaea, working on extragalactic astronomy under two fascinating guides, Professor Mausumi Das and Professor Pravati ma'am. Firstly, I want to thank organizers for giving me opportunity to share my views and experience on this day. I want to wish you all a happy International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Initially, when I thought to wish, I was kind of uncertain that should I say happy, because it's sad that still statistics says that ratio of women and girls in science is very less compared to men. But then when I thought about our institute, where a director is a woman, and when I joined, a dean was also a woman. So I felt, other than that, also the faculties and students, irrespective of gender, are working so passionately for a single goal, that is advancement of science, is really a thing to celebrate. My formal journey with science began like most of us, that's in school. At that time, I was not much aware of any professions, but my preferred profession in slam books were either an astronaut or a scientist or a psychologist. Later, I realized that it was not just my preference, but most of the girls in my class actually wanted to be an astronaut or a scientist. At least they wrote in book. But if I see now, lesser than 5 out of 30 actually chose a pure science as their career. In my bachelor's, it was a great time for me because I attended a lot of science lectures in IAA, ICTS, and planetarium. Glad I was brought up. I am brought up in Bangalore, so which surely helped me to know things happening in science out of the textbooks. Well, I can say I was really lucky that my parents most of the time supported me to study what I wanted. But when I reached my master's, I'm in my 20s. It's a here according to people, it's a right age for women. I'm actually double quoting it. It's sadly it starts there and ends pretty soon. So my relatives started searching eligible groom for me. Some suggested not to do higher studies as it will be very difficult for them to find a qualified husband. But I had made my mind that I have to do higher education. So I was preparing for exams with other friends. Once they asked me to get like usual, they asked me to get married, and I told them that if I clear any entrance exam this year, they won't ask me until I'm ready. Luckily, I cleared exams with good rank and I got placed here. I'm happy that I stood for what I wanted. I have seen many people giving up their dreams because they are not brave enough. So I think it's very important for women to stand what they really want to pursue. So I think other than that, teachers also play a very important role. In my BSc, my teacher, there was a teacher called YC Kamala. So she used to take initiative and take us to lectures, and she set up sky gazing sessions and all. So that really motivated us to pursue science. So luckily, women teachers outnumber men in our country. So they should try to motivate students, irrespective of gender, to pursue science. Secondly, it's obviously in our hand, as I told before, that we should stand strong. and make people understand what we want to do and how awesome it is. And students of science like institute like this should keep more of such women oriented general public talks and even science public talks, because it should at least reach schools and colleges so they will know what's happening in the world of science. Unraveling the secret of universe, advancement of science and technology, conservation of our nature, and betterment of society is not just a responsibility of one kind of mankind, but entire humanity. We women are programmed to do multitasking. We are good in balancing things. And who else is better in judgment than us? So it's better to never forget that we are the product of science and science needs us. We are not just beneficiaries, but agent of change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amruta. That was very inspiring. So our next speaker is Ravina Khan. Ravina, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Ravina is a senior research fellow under the MTech PhD program under Calcutta University. So, Ravina, a student of Iaea, will you speak?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity. Hello, everyone. So I'm currently working with my supervisor, Dr. K. Nagraju, and my research work involves study of the diagnostic techniques for measuring the magnetic field of the solar corona. First of all, I would thank my family who have always supported me in every step of my life. Secondly, I would thank my teachers, and because of them, I chose to pursue a career in science. The way they used to help us in carrying out lab experiments and teach us with real time examples, that really aroused my interest in science and mathematics. Also, most of my teachers never discouraged me on anything. Rather, all of us, me and my classmates, used to get equal punishment for not doing homework or committing other mischiefs. And I remember whenever I used to tell my parents about the punishments, they always used to appreciate my teachers and used to tell me that it is for my better future. I never understood how punishments could be better for any student. But I think now I do understand that those rough days have helped in making me strong both physically and mentally. And if I have learned to be independent, then the credit goes to my parents. They have always encouraged me to improve myself in whatever I do. And they always used to tell me that my competition is not with any other kid, but it is with my own self. They have never compared me with our neighbors' children. Rather, they used to say that every child is special and unique. My achievements today are because of my parents and my sisters who have always had belief in me. Even when I was not confident enough to achieve my goals, they were always there to encourage me to give my best. Thinking of my journey so far, I realize I have always got to learn from the people around me, my friends, colleagues, and faculties, and I'm still learning from them. They have always been an inspiration to me, and a very interesting aspect I have found here at IA is that people are very friendly and helpful. Many of my colleagues might not agree with my words, but I believe that it entirely depends on our attitude towards any situation. Let me give you an example. Say in a class, we are given a task to complete, but somehow I fail to complete it. So teacher scolds me while praising my classmate who managed to complete the task. At that moment, if I become sad and complain that teacher scolded me because I'm a girl, then it is my wrong thinking and my negative attitude. However, if I try to complete the task instead of wasting my time in gossiping about the teacher, then that's when I'll be able to prove my capability and move a step forward in improving myself. So sometimes when we say that we are not considered as equal because of our gender, we must actually rethink the issue. There are many such instances we may find in our life where we might realize that it was not a problem of gender discrimination. Rather, it was our insecurity which made us think so. In short, I would like to conclude my talk with a simple message that is a lot of problems will be solved the moment we stop complaining and start acting sensibly. And most important of all, start focusing on upgrading ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ravina. Inspiring. So our next speaker is Pallavi Saraf. She is a senior research fellow at Iaea under Pondicherry University. Pallavi, are you there?
So, hello everyone. I'm Pallavi Shara. I would like to thank Prabha for giving me opportunity to share my views on this occasion. So, of humans and girls in science. So, before going to start my talk, first we should why not any men's and boys' day in science? So, this answer was already explained nicely by our director and other speakers. So, I will not go deep into it, but still, I want to tell it briefly because I want our voice to reach each and every person again and again, which are listening to me right now and will listen to me in the future. So, as many of you might know, the global community has made a lot of effort in inspiring and engaging women and girls in science. But still, women and girls are lacking from participating fully in science. So, to make them fully and equally participating in science, United Nations General Assembly has declared 11 Feb as the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Now, coming to my personal journey towards science and astronomy. So when I was a kid, I was very fascinated towards science and I used to participate actively in science exhibitions. So during my graduation time only, I got to know about astrophysics and interesting research going on in this field. And that motivated me to dream of becoming a researcher in astrophysics in future. So after completing my master's in physics, I joined IAEA as a PhD student. So getting selected at IAEA was like a dream come true for me. First of all, the coursework was extremely helpful and interacting with such a renowned professor in their field made me ready for beginning my journey as a young researcher. After that, I started working with Professor Sivrani Tirupati on stellar astrophysics. The environment that IAEA provided has been very helpful for me as a young researcher. At IAEA, I have never experienced any sort of discrimination. Here we participate all the activities together. I am also privileged to be surrounded by many female colleagues, which is something I have not experienced earlier in my life. This is the best part at IAEA. Hope such an atmosphere that is conducive to increase in participation of women in science continues to flourish at IAEA. But what is true of IAEA may not be true of our society in general. As can be observed from the general lack of equality of opportunity and discrimination that many girls students continue to face from their early childhood. There is still a long way to go. So, on this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, I call on everyone to create an environment where women can realize their true potential and today's girl become tomorrow's leading scientist and innovator, shaping a fair and sustainable future for all. If we manage to channelize our effort globally, the need for observance of such a day may cease to exist along with the gender gap in science. So finally, I would like to end my talk by giving a small message to all the parents who are not allowing their girl child to pursue their aim. So my message for them would be, please believe in your girl child. Give them a freedom to live their dream. One day they will definitely make you feel proud. And my message for the women who are capable enough, but still they are sitting at home and not doing anything. For them, my message would be, please come out from your cage, speak for yourself, live your dream, enjoy your life to the fullest, and finally give your excellent mind to the scientific society and make our nation feel proud. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very good. Thank you. Very inspiring. So our next speaker is Priya Goyal. Priya, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there. Okay.
Priya is a postdoctoral researcher at IAEA and she recently submitted her thesis. Priya, please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Priya. I am postdoctoral researcher at Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Firstly, I would like to thank Gender Equity Cell and Scope for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. So we are here to celebrate International Day of Women and Girls in Science. Hence, I start by sharing my motivation to pursue science. So as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. I was really inspired and influenced by Kalpana Chawla. But at that time, I didn't know the path to embark upon this journey. So the first step that I took towards my fascinating goal was opting for science stream with PCM during high school. So after that, I went on doing bachelor's in science and further master's in science from University of Delhi. Astrophysics and cosmology were my specialized subjects in my final year. Studying subjects persuaded me to carry further research in cosmology. Fortunately, I got into Iaea and also got a chance to pursue research in cosmology under the guidance of Professor Prabhakar. I'm going to conclude my PhD, but this is not the end, and it marks the beginning of my new adventure as a postdoctoral fellow at KIAS, South Korea. So this whole journey would not have been possible without the support, guidance, and encouragement from my parents, my friends, and all my teachers. Also, Iaea has provided excellent work environment, which is very crucial for the well-being of a researcher. And I'm very grateful and feel blessed to be a part of Iaea family. So by now we all have understood that science pervades all aspects of our life. And most of the problems in nation building can be solved by applying science, technology, engineering, and the problem solving attitude required of scientists makes life very exciting and challenging at times. And to be able to solve problems faced by world, it is important to utilize the potential and consider perspectives of the entire population, both men and women, young boys and girls. So there shouldn't be any bias or prejudice pertaining to role of a man or a woman in the society. Should get a chance to choose.
Yeah.
Hello, am I audible?
We lost a point.
I think you have to just repeat the last one or two lines.
Okay. So, everyone should get a chance to choose what they want to pursue based on their interest and caliber. Personally, I have not experienced any bias in my career till now, but I have heard experiences of many who have. And in most instances, particularly among elites, it is subtle and not direct. So at last, I would just like to say that first step towards tackling any problem like this is to accept and acknowledge the problem and then work towards its eradication from the root level. As Professor Annapurni also mentioned, that things are now changing and becoming better. Various efforts across various levels are already underway to address these issues. So I'm looking forward for participation of more and more women and girls in science, taking up diverse roles. So at last, I would just like to say that science is fun and why should boys have all the fun? Thank you once again.
Yeah, I like your last comment. That's good. So I think rather than taking questions now, I request Srimati Anuradha. Are you still there? Would you like to give some comments before we end the session with the Dean?
I must say that I thoroughly enjoyed, especially the youngsters when they're giving their opinion. And it was very nice to listen to Professor Preeti with her statistics too. And it's very revealing. So many facts came out. And I really appreciate these young ladies, and they have told what they had in their heart. It is very true, as one of them told. It's very important that young girls have to think what is right for them, not about what others are thinking, and compete with themselves, not with others. So keep on trying to make yourself better from today to tomorrow, this year to next year. Keep improving yourself rather than looking at outside. And never limit yourself is the final thing. We all have a lot of potential.
I think it has frozen.
Artificial things. And it has come out so well with all these talks which have come out. And I'm sure to any small extent it can help the cause of today. It is really great. And I congratulate all of you on that.
Thank you for your kind words. I think now I will ask the Dean to give the closing comments. Before that, I would just like to tell everyone that after Ishwar, the Dean, has finished, we will close the YouTube channel, and then we'll have the online quiz competition within Iaea, and the winners will be announced at the high tea on the lawn. Okay, so Ishwar, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Mosmi. That was a very excellent program. And I thank both Scope and Amity Cell to conducting this very nice program. And thank you, Anuradha Garu, for coming over here and then yeah, quite a journey for you. And then I just loved your very honest opinion about everything. What the current the situation you were at that time. So that was very nice. So, and of course, the Preeti gave a very nice statistics. I think there is a lot of things we need to do, though we improved quite a bit over the years, but there is a long way to go. And especially I loved listening the IAEA students talking about the various aspects of these gender issues, and then that's wonderful. So one thing which comes to me is, as a society, I think as a society is welcome to the women's participation, girls' participation, every space. Where the problem for me lies is in the four walls, which Anuradha really pointed out, that the four walls of each family, because there the people getting conditioned in one way or other. If they're a boy and girl are there, somehow the grandma says, father says, or the mother says, okay, you have to do some work, you have to do some work. You know, that's the where it starts for the large set of population. Maybe not the small percentage of the population, but the large percentage of the population that happens. That it sets the goals for women there itself, conditioning, you know, a kind of brainwashing. Very few people come out of that situation later on years. They just get adjusted and compromised. Okay, I will go with my husband. He gets a job somewhere else. I sacrifice it. Though I have done PhD, but then these years of conditioning gets into their brain, and then the compromise comes somewhere else. My husband is going to America, and then somewhere the Apple is working. I have a position here, PDF or student, but they go with them. So a lot of people we lose actually good trained the women this way. This is because of the conditioning process is also there quite a bit from the beginning. I think that needs to be really tackled at the ground level. I think the scope we should have even IAEA from our level. I think we should target somewhere in even villages, some schools and things like that once in a while, just to talk about these things where the teachers are there and the parents are there and things like that. So that's very important to improve from here. Though we progress quite a bit, but then there is plenty of things to do. Before we reach 50-50 level, there are 50% of women, there are 50% of men. In every space, there should be that many number. So we should not be talking about the next time, the International Women's Day or anything. No special should be there. It's a Human's Day in science and technologies, how we progress as a human race, rather than these divisions. So I think we should all strive towards that direction from the day onwards. As we parents, we should do this to our own kids, and then that's a very important thing. Thank you very much, Anuradha Garu. Thank you very much for all the speakers for motivating this in this meeting. A lot of our people, young students and things like that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ishwar. Thank you very much for your comments. I now invite Shipra Ota. Shipra, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, Shipra, you are going to take charge of the quiz, I think, right?
Yes. So, thank you, ma'am. Now we will have a quiz. The link is in the chat box. So the quiz has only 16 questions for the 10 minutes. So it will start